Well, we go from playing the Orlando Pride to playing the Kansas City Current, the number 1 and number 2 teams in the NWSL, respectively. Kansas City, no joke. Been watching their tape, and it has me a little bit worried. But San Diego, we are back and have some ways that I think we can go about trying to win this game. Also, let's not forget, we stood toe-to-toe with the Orlando Pride last game, and I think we can do it again this weekend at Snapdragon Stadium. So how do we go about shocking Kansas City? Are there holes in the Kansas City team that we can maybe exploit? But at the end of the day, who wins and by how much? We'll get into all of that and more on the Penalty Kick podcast. I'm your host, Mike Gio, but before we get into it, I just wanted to say something really quick. If you have not done so today, say hi and check in on someone you love. Our family and I sadly lost my first cousin this week. She was 33 years young. She fought for her life since she was a child and fought, so many days after. I don't curse on this show, and I'm not going to do that right now, but F cancer. Karolina, I love you, and I'll see you when it's my time. And I wasn't gonna do this show, but I didn't want to forget that if you have a chance to do something you love, speak to someone you love, see someone you love, do it. Do it whether you're sad, do it whether you're happy. I love soccer. I love San Diego. I love supporting women and women's sports. So I felt it important to honor a woman in my life that is no longer here. And, I just wanted to mention that and say that if you got a chance, please go say hi to someone you love. Check in on them. Everyone needs a little love and care sometimes. So check in on them. But y'all know we got to get to it. At the end of the day, there is business. And Kansas City, a great team. I cannot lie. This team's phenomenal. I watched their tape. I look, obviously at their stats, and we'll throw their stats up, right now, but they are just a great team. So let's break down the stats and see, really what they got going on. Kansas City is first in the NWSL for shots on target with 18, and they are second overall in goals scored. But what really gets me is their defense. They're not only great on offense, they're also great on defense. They've only allowed 1 goal in 3 games. That's tied for best with Orlando Pride. Wave, we're kind of a little high middle of the pack. Currently in the table, we're 5th. We're 5 points off the leaders, Orlando Pride and Kansas City. We obviously do not have as good as stats as KC. Obviously, we don't have as many points as KC, but I think there is a little bit of light and a glimpse of light in this matchup. KC has a passing accuracy of 74% versus San Diego with 80% passing accuracy for San Diego. This means they turn over the ball. They're susceptible to bad passes. And when I was watching their tape, it showed up, with Portland. It also showed up when they played Utah, and that's the one I really honed in on. Their last game, they were hitting on all cylinders in that game. But even though they won 3-0, they were turning the ball over. They were still making bad passes. And the reason that is the style of play. They run a 4-3-3 formation, very attacking oriented. And let me tell you, they want to just attack in any means necessary. If they get the ball, they want to pass immediately to a runner. If they get a turnover, they want to go as fast as possible towards the goal. They are just a high octane, high powered offense. However, when you don't have a great passing accuracy, again, you can turn the ball over, which means when you turn the ball over and you're trying to attack, a lot of your players are forward. That means they're out of position on the defensive end. So we could potentially counter this team. And you saw that a couple times show up on tape. However, the other teams didn't finish their opportunities. I will say we're not an attacking style team in the sense of just flooding players forward, trying to go fast, quick counterattacks. We like methodical build-up play. We like to be composed in our build-up play. But I do think the coaching staff needs to talk about this, because when you're playing such a great team, you have to find holes and how to expose those holes against those teams. So if we get turnovers and it looks like a good opportunity to counter, I hope we do, because we obviously have great players on the wings that can attack. When the Kansas City defense is set, they're really, really tough. Their backline, super well organized. You can tell they played for a while together. But really, it was like their midfielders. Every time the opposing team would pass the ball, the midfielders would literally just crash down, and they would literally just go towards the ball. They'd sprint towards the ball. The effort from the midfielders on the defensive end is something to applaud, that you hope every team would have, because sometimes people take breaks on defense. But they sprint, they run the ball down. And that makes it really difficult. It obviously protects the back line a lot more, but it also creates turnovers for them. And they like to play fast, so they love to counter. And they are deadly on the counter because they have some ballers up front. They have Timwa, Chawinga, Debinha, and Cooper. And let me just say, Chawinga was the MVP of the NWSL last year, and watching Chawinga on tape, it's mind-blowingly phenomenal. It's mind-blowingly beautiful soccer. She is faster, stronger, more technical, and also she's unselfish. She will pass the ball. She will do hold-up play. She will make that little bit of a sacrifice, which ends up usually working out in her favor, because then she gets back into the box and score goals. But all those three individuals, they're on the same mental plane. The way they move with each other, the way they know when to pass the ball, because they can see the subtle, eye contact of, I'm going to make a run. Their timing on passes is absolutely phenomenal amongst each other. And that top three is absolutely dangerous with the 2024 MVP running the show. So, what do we do? What does San Diego Wave do to stand a chance in this game and potentially nick a win? We have a different style of play than Kansas City. Kansas City wants to move fast. I don't think we like to play fast, or at least we don't play fast. We're more organized in our buildup. We're more tactical in our buildup. We play a very composed game. So that means we can potentially put some pressure on them by doing what they don't, possessing the ball longer than they do. If we can win possession, that bodes well for us. And when I say win possession, I want to be around the 60% range. Be tidy on your passes and neat on the ball, because when those midfielders crash, they're trying to steal. But also, if midfielders crash, they're leaving space in behind. But if you're tidy on the ball, don't turn it over, you have an opportunity to make the pass, open up the defense, and then you got odd numbers running at that defensive back line. We controlled kind of Orlando, most of the Orlando Pride game. The first half, Orlando Pride were really non-existent. Second half, obviously, they grew into the game. They obviously ended up winning the game, but we stood toe-to-toe with them, and I'd say we probably had the better game in totality, but they had the better half and, a soft penalty. So we can play teams like this, and I think we can take those other teams like an Orlando Pride, like a Kansas City, out of their rhythm because they want to go fast. So possession is going to be key. We're going to need to control the midfield. The midfield is going to be so important. I think we all know Gia Corley, Cascarino, they're going to be the ones making the highlight plays. They're going to be the ones scoring the goals. They're going to be the ones usually getting the plaudits, because that's just how soccer is. But I don't think they're actually the most important players in this game. In this game, it's going to be, for me, McCaskill and Dolly. Who usually controls possession? Who usually controls pace? It's going to be your midfielders. Your midfielders are going to be the ones controlling that pace and dictating the pace, right? When they have the ball, they're the ones that you're usually touching the ball the most. They're usually the ones covering most of the field from back to front. So they're going to be so important. And again, if they can control the ball, if they can be neat with their passes, then we have a great opportunity. But also, they need to be the outlet pass for defenders or attackers if the defense tries to close in on them. So I think McCaskill and Dolly are going to be so important on how they play to hopefully have a really good shot at winning this game. However, I do worry about our back line. The tape don't lie, right? Watching the tape, the stats don't lie. We've allowed 2 or more goals in 2 out of 3 games, and we have 0 clean sheets. We obviously have one of the best goalkeepers in probably the world. So it's usually going to be our defensive breakdowns that lead to goals. We have a lot of young players on that back defensive line, and we have some players that I don't quite like being back there. So controlling the ball, controlling the pace saves our back line, because if the other team doesn't have the ball, they can't run at you. So again, very crucial to control pace, control possession. Another worry is in our second halves, we don't look as good in games. I don't know if that is because the NWSL is so fast, because we're like a fast break league compared to maybe, the Women's Super League. We play a very European style of play. Obviously, Jonas and most of our team now is from international soccer. And so we play a very tactical, very composed, very organized approach, still very clever, still very creative. It's just not as fast as the NWSL. The NWSL players like to run. This is a fast league. So I do think that has hurt our fitness levels. And I'm not saying, they're running us out of the buildings or anything, but obviously if we're struggling in the second half, usually it's because of legs, you get a little bit tired. So that is something to watch out for. But now we're, inching to more and more games. They obviously had the international break. 11 of our players went. So they've played for 4 weeks, and technically this is their, 4th game in the NWSL, but this is kind of the 5th week, right? So hopefully they're going and rounding into form and rounding into match fitness, because it's so different to play a match than being on the practice pitch. A big question that I have about this game is Eidval going to start some of our younger players, like maybe a Trinity Armstrong, because we've kind of struggled on the defensive end. So do you make changes there? Are we going to bring on Ascanio, Barcenos, or Chkuchku? Are we going to play those players? I don't think we are. I hope to see at least one, but I don't think we are. And the reason I don't think we are is because Kansas City Current are such a good team. I don't know if Eidval would want to expose very, very young players to that level of competition so early. So I do think we're going to go more with Lundqvist and Leon. Those individuals I think will be starting because they're more veteran players. They've also already kind of been starting a little bit. So I hope to see at least subs of the young players, but I'd love to see at least one of the young players get in. But we'll need to keep an eye out on Eidval's lineups, because they've changed slightly each and every game as far as personnel and where they are. Gia Corley played, in the midfield, one time. Then Sanchez played in the midfield one time, and then Corley on the wing, and then Sanchez on the wing. So we keep on switching those around. And obviously we played Leon and Doniak Robe up top. So we've switched around a little bit of that midfield, but mostly probably attacking. So we'll need to see what Eidval does. But let's get to the keys to the game. How do we win this game? And also, what's the prediction? Who's going to win this game? As y'all have probably figured out, we need to control the pace. It's so important in this game when you're going against a high-octane team. We need midfield monsters. I need McCaskill. I need Dali to be absolute monsters and show up everywhere on tape, making all the great passes, but also tracking back on defense. And McCaskill really, taking up that, center defensive midfielder. She's hard-nosed, and I love the way she plays. So midfield monsters, hopefully they can show out this game. And we need defense. We haven't had any clean sheets. Can we keep a clean sheet? Or maybe at least can we keep it maybe to 1 goal against this high-octane team, because they're an attacking powerhouse. But since it's at Snapdragon and SD Wave always plays well at home, I'm going to go with the 1-1 draw, get the point against the top team, un empato. But I just want to thank y'all so much for, watching this episode. Sorry to, drop, any sad news on anyone. But, I just want to remind y'all, please find joy in your days. Please find joy in your lives. We don't know how long each and every life will be here. So, make sure to enjoy yours as much as humanly possible. Say I love you to the people you love. And, until next episode, I'll see you then. I'll see y'all in the next episode of the Penalty Kick Podcast.